Hi there, this is the voice of Chris Von Roritz, the Honor Science Coordinator for John Abbott College. And over the next few minutes, I'm going to take you through some of the most popular questions we receive when we do open house, hoping it can answer some of the questions you might have. This presentation is meant to build off of the introduction you received to Honor Science in the other science presentation, and we're going to tackle the following three questions over the next few minutes. Specifically, why would you choose Honor Science and how it's different from regular science program, how to go about applying, and how the selection is determined. When students ask why Honor Science, how is it different, I try and boil it down to two specific things. The first is the Friday meetings. So the Friday meetings are offered exclusively to Honor Science students throughout their first year. And over the course of the 2 semesters in the first year, students will be exposed to a number of guest presentations as well as some field trips and social activities. The social activities, which tend to be more prominent in the first few weeks, aim to help build good relationships among the group and focus on group dynamics. And then as the semester and year progresses, we tend to focus more on guest speakers and field trips. The guest speakers are based both off of interests the students have. So if there's students interested in learning more about veterinary science, I'll try and get a veterinarian in, or specific fields in engineering, but also to explore some professions that students may not think of that are possibilities to pursue with a degree in science. And then finally, we'll also try and participate in a handful of field trips over the course of the semester, looking at some science-related venues in the West Island. The other aspect of Honor Science that is distinct from the regular science program is the relationship the students tend to build with one another because they are in the same group, same science classes for the first 2 semesters, as well as biology in their 3rd semester. So because students are grouped together, they tend to get to know one another quite quickly. Often students will actually make their own Facebook group or social media group to communicate before they even meet in the fall for the first time. And this will come in very handy when it comes time to preparing for tests or other activities, because they'll have a whole network of classmates to study with or compare comprehension and answers with. Additionally, because the students are all coming from with a strong background and an interest in science, they tend to do quite well at supporting one another. The dynamic of the group is quite special, and it is the point that students having graduated from Honor Science cite as being the #1 benefit of the program is the group dynamics and support network from other strong science students. Related to this, will often be asked, does Honor Science have an impact on the R-score? And the answer to that is directly no. The R-score is calculated by looking at a student's performance compared to the group, but in the case of the Honor Science, that group is not Honor Science, but rather the science program as a whole, so as not to put the students at a disadvantage. That being said, I think it's important for students considering applying for Honor Science to reflect on how they think being in this group would influence them. What I mean by this is the class dynamic is distinct. All the students in the program are dedicated on doing well. They are focused on academic success and are quite perseverant and studious. And for many students, this is a motivator. Knowing that they're surrounded by other students like them who want to succeed will encourage students to do better than they may if they weren't in Honor Science. On the other hand, some students can find this stressful or anxiety-inducing, and so occasionally we have students who actually choose to step back from Honor Science because they feel the dynamic is not beneficial to them. So I would encourage everyone considering the program to reflect on this. Do you feel that this environment is one that will inspire you and motivate you, or is there a possibility it might actually work against you? In which case, the regular science program at John Abbott is also quite strong and has a lot to offer. When it comes time to applying to Honor Science, the process is fairly straightforward, and there's 2 main aspects. The first, and this is extremely important, is to apply to the regular science program at John Abbott College through the SRAM system. The reason for this is because when we look at honor science applicants, those who are admitted into the program are transferred from that general pool of science applicants, but those who aren't selected, we don't want to have to then transfer them around. By applying to both honor science and the regular science program and being admitted into both, or declined from admission into honor science, applicants will already be considered for the regular science program and won't have missed that opportunity, and there's no need to reapply or transfer. So it's very important students apply to the regular science program if they're thinking of applying to honor science. In addition to that, students should then complete the application form, which is found on our website. The link is available at the end of these slides. And in completing that application form, students should mention, provide contact information, as well as a letter of intent why they're interested in the program. Finally, students need to ask one science or math teacher to submit a reference letter by email to me at honors.science@johnabbott.qc.ca. This should be a science or math teacher that knows the student well. And I want to emphasize that it is one reference letter. If more than one letter is submitted, I will not read it. And I think it's important that students be respectful to their teacher's time by only asking for one reference letter if that's what's being requested. Once the applications are in, the selection process begins, and speaking to those reference letters and letters of intent, every one of them is read and evaluated to look at how students will contribute to the group. So certainly we hope to have honor science candidates who are well-rounded individuals, but it's also very important that they will work well in a group. So I'll say that it's not the 40 strongest students that we necessarily want for honor science, but rather 40 very strong students, but who will also work well in the group dynamic that I've described. So giving examples of how you've worked well with others in the past or some of the activities you're involved in is something to highlight in your letter of intent. Ultimately, however, the most important part of the application process or selection process is academic performance. And this is done in collaboration with the admissions of John Abbott College. So you don't need to provide your grades when you apply to honor science. Through the SRAM system, I'll have access to those. And it's not one singular grade that's used to determine candidacy or ranking. Historically, it's been a score that SRAM provides that looks at student performance relative to their classmates and students across the province for ministerial exams. In light of the pandemic, this process will likely have to be modified, but I don't know exactly how that will look right now. That's something that I'll be deciding with the admissions for the college in consultation with SRAM. But all efforts will be made to ensure that academic performance is evaluated fairly for all applicants. I do want to highlight that it is a competitive program. In a typical year, we have at least 115 applicants, sometimes well over 125, 130, and there are only 40 spots for admission in honor science. There is a waiting list, and we typically have a number of students from the waiting list who ultimately are admitted into the program, but the number will depend on how many of those who are initially accepted choose to go to other CEGEPs. We advertise that a minimum of 80% in each of the science courses is needed to be eligible, but realistically it's higher 80s or 90s that are needed to be competitive. That being said, it is a function of who applies in any given year, so there is not one definitive grade cutoff. It's a function of the pool of applicants. If you aren't successful in being admitted into honor science, I will mention that there is always an opportunity to join in the winter semester. There's not a specific number of spots that open up, but a cohort of 40 is desired going into the second semester. So if any students choose to leave or ask to leave honor science after the first semester, any spots that are created because of that are available for students applying after their first semester. And at that point, application really looks at your performance in your science courses in that first semester and reference from a teacher. If you'd like more information about honor science, I would encourage you to check out our website. The link is provided here, or you can simply in a web browser search for John Abbott College Honor Science, or you can reach out to me by email. My address is provided there. I hope this answers some of your main questions about the program, and if you have any further details you'd like to know, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks.